Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and we have a treat for you. Yes, this was something that I absolutely had to acquire, had to get my little grummy paws on as soon as I found out about it. But we are discussing the new Aussie creature feature, Rippy. And for those of you over in Australia, you'll know it as The Red. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard about this film, if you don't know anything about it, the thumbnail, the title, it does not lie. We're dealing with a killer kangaroo, but not just that, a zombified killer kangaroo. And this was on our 31 films to watch out for in the month of October. We were definitely, I was certainly more excited about it, but I know, Luke was saying some positive things, saying some things that could potentially win him over. And now we've gotten a chance to see it. So, Luke, how are you feeling about Rippy?
Well, we all know you're the big creature feature guy. I do love my creature features, but you're certainly an easier sell. So, looking at Rippy, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. I was excited for Michael Biehn, obviously, probably the biggest name in the cast there. Just to see him back in the horror space. He's done some really good things, obviously, with Aliens and Cherry Falls. So I've always enjoyed that film. So I really wanted to see what he was going to do here. And then, of course, we have this giant CGI kangaroo, which, from the trailer, I'll tell you, was a little alarming. It didn't look like it gelled. So going into this, I was a little hesitant, to be honest. I didn't know how this was going to look. I was hoping for a cocaine bear in terms of tone, as I'm just looking to have fun. Unfortunately, I didn't really get that tone. I did have problems with the CGI kangaroo. Michael Biehn's performance didn't really do it for me. So this one, my hesitancy was unfortunately correct going into this.
Michael's Beans. I love it. Let's do
Michael's
it.
Beans. That's his new name now.
Hell yeah. Yeah, guys, unfortunately, I have to side with Luke a bit more on this one. Rippy was a bit of a letdown, and there are a few key reasons for that. I mean, like Luke said, it's very honest, very true. I say it all the time. I'm an easy sell when it comes to my killer critters, animal attack films, especially when you have something coming from down under in Australia there. We tend to really love a lot of their projects, and I'm not saying that Rippy is a dumpster fire. I'm not saying that it's unwatchable. I think just when you have a concept like a zombified kangaroo and it's a big CGI thing, which, for a limited budget, we can definitely, notice it. But if it's entertaining and it understands itself a bit more, it has some understanding of the tone they're trying to portray, then I think you can let it go. We certainly have let things slide in the past, but man, Rippy, I think just the death nail in this coffin is certainly that I feel like this movie just takes itself way too seriously for what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, that affects the fun factor quite a bit.
I will second that 100%. I brought up Cocaine Bear, where you have this kind of fun tone to it. And when you look at that, I was hesitant with that one because I was like, I don't know how the CGI bear is going to look. Is this really going to gel with what we're seeing on screen? And that one turned out to be a pretty positive experience, and they had a fun tone to it. So looking at something like Rippy, I thought we would at least get some sort of over-the-top comedy. It's usually what you get in these kind of random CGI insert animal here taking on whatever human beings that we do have. I thought we were going to kind of get this jovial tone for at least a lot of it. And you're absolutely right where this film does take itself very seriously. I think they knew kind of their limitations here in terms of the CGI kangaroo and what that was going to look like, because we use our Rippy kangaroo sparingly, I will say, and that kind of creates, I don't know, you're kind of just waiting. You came for a zombified kangaroo, and that's what you want to see. But when you're not seeing it, and 10 minutes pass, and then another 10 minutes pass, and another 10 minutes pass, you're kind of just sitting around waiting to see, hey, what are we going to do here? And then by the time we do get to it, it's just kind of a little bit too late, I think, in terms of really being invested in what we're seeing on screen.
And I think that it's very easy to understand why you'd want to be sparing with a CGI creature, especially if you are going with that kind of Jaws approach. Now, I think that's what they maybe were trying to go for, with maybe leaving less is more with this. But unfortunately, most of the kills with Rippy, for this being an R-rated film, are off screen, and we see a little bit of the carnage, a little bit of that aftermath. But you really, when you get to one, there's one definitive kill in this that I think is, kind of their money shot per se, and it's very, I gotta say, uncreative. It doesn't really leave you much to say, like, oh well, that was exciting, that was interesting. And you think with something like this, you'd want to go a little more over the top. You'd want to kind of really lean into the blood and the gore and kind of the fun of a zombie kangaroo eating people, and kind of really lean into that. I mean, especially when you have a legacy actor like Michael Biehn, who's in this, and we adore him, we love him. But to me, it felt like, just like they didn't really know how to handle their kangaroo, they didn't really have a clear direction on what they wanted to do with Michael Bihn's character. He kind of plays this war-torn veteran who has some issues, and everybody's kind of aware of that. He's kind of a pariah in town. People kind of wrote him off, and his performance goes from being very sympathetic at times to very just cheesy and off the wall, and it doesn't mesh well with that tone at all. Now, had the tone been more fun and exciting with a little bit of that camp to it, that performance could have worked. That performance could have been more fun. But it just feels like there were moments when he's delivering lines of dialogue that are so weird, so campy, so goofy, and then he's having a conversation with a character about their past and just what they've experienced, and it's really sad and it's really deep, and I couldn't buy it. I had a really hard time falling in love with any aspect of the kangaroo or even just the characters.
Yes, and like I said, I was excited to see Michael Biehn pop up in this film, just to see what his performance is going to look like. And like I said, it didn't really hit with me. There was just this kind of disconnect, I think, in terms of what they wanted to accomplish with his character, because like you said, you have these kind of sincere moments where they feel authentic, where we're peeling back layers of this character and exactly understanding why he is the way that he is. And I think you find yourself maybe getting behind those in certain instances. But then we hop to the next scene, and it just feels like he's playing like almost a character, where we're hopping back and forth between Michael Biehn being authentic and then just being an actual character, where he's delivering these lines in kind of these hammy ways that the dialogue choices are just not good. It's something where it's like, I don't know if a real person would say it or deliver it like that. And it just created such a disconnect of, at first I was excited to see Michael Biehn on the screen, and then I was like, I wish he was in a better film, and I wish he had a better performance of just, something more that he could sink his teeth into, and really just a clear direction. Because like you said, I think this film has a prom understanding of what it wanted to achieve, where it's very serious at times, but then when you're dealing with a zombified kangaroo, you can only get so serious in those scenes. But they still try to take itself seriously, and then we're not even here for the fun kills. A lot of things happen off screen, unfortunately, where we can't even say, oh, that's something memorable. And we just kind of bypass it, and we're on to the next thing, and we get more of the same over and over again until we kind of build up to that final conclusion, which unfortunately is underwhelming as well. It just is something where you're hoping for this kind of grandiose ending to it, and it just kind of fizzles out, I guess. And you're kind of just left there saying, is that really it? And unfortunately, the credits roll.
Yeah, they leave you on a note that's, in a film that understood its tone and understood what it was trying to do, you could see as fun, you could see as exciting and interesting, and a good way to take it, the more natural progression of the way, I guess. But it just, the final climactic, sequences, they don't hit, and then you're kind of left with, oh, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that works. And it just leaves you with feeling very undercooked, very unsatisfied, I would say, throughout 90% of the film. So it is tough. And, I think, is this slash it worthy, in my opinion? It's tough to say. I think that there's still definitely, you could tell that they had the ability to make a film that looks good, that absolutely has the bones there of this could be a fun film. I just think that they really struggled between, are we taking ourselves super serious or are we taking this in a fun route? And that's really where it sits with it. And I think that some people who stumble across this and find this, especially once it hits streaming, may have more fun with it because they weren't kind of building it up in their heads as to what this looks like. The trailer did a good job of making this look wild and out there. So for me, I think I'm going to go with proceed with caution. I don't think it merits a slash it, but I mean, we're very, very much on that border. It was very tough for me to even find an ounce of true enjoyment with Rippy.
Certainly, and we've been pretty negative, I think, on this review thus far, but there's a structure there. There is an outline there that they really did try to tell a story. And I'll say, landscape shots, they're well done. They're no complaints there. This isn't a horribly constructed film. I think it just has a pacing problem and identity problem where I suspect that maybe Rippy started off as a more of a fun kind of film. And then when we kind of get into what the budget looks like, we have to start maybe cutting some of that fun down and understanding we're not going to get as much mileage out of this kangaroo that we could have gotten in that original script. And maybe we just have to focus more so on our character work and using our kangaroo sparingly. And, we're going to be secluded to night shots and things like that to kind of conceal those budgetary constraints. I suspect maybe that is what happened here and why we kind of have this disjointed tone of Michael Biehn acting so hammy in having kind of feeling like such a character at times and then kind of going into the deeper, more sincere route to it. I think maybe that could have been an issue here, and we're kind of feeling those lasting effects of maybe almost two different tonally different scripts that kind of had to be meshed together because of those budgetary constraints. I don't know if that happened. It just feels like that to me. So yes, I think there was definitely an attempt here to make some sort of fun kangaroo zombified killer kangaroo film. It just didn't really pan out here. So yes, it does dabble into slash it. I don't think it remains there because there's just enough positives to keep it right out of there. So I'm on board with you. I think this is a proceed with caution. I think, there is some here that if you're intrigued by a zombified kangaroo, maybe you could have some fun with it. It just wasn't our bag this time around. I think there is a much fun film from this kind of concept. It just wasn't Rippy.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, you guys can check out Rippy. It should be dropping in the States here this Friday on the 18th. So keep your eyes out for it. Again, this wasn't our cup of tea, but maybe we hyped it up too much in our heads. Maybe we expected something different than what they decided to offer, and maybe that'll work for you. So definitely check it out. Report back. Let us know if you've seen the film. And either way, even if this doesn't work for you, it's always good to go out and support independent horror. Obviously, we saw at the box office this weekend, Terrifier 3 being independent, absolutely crushed, made some history. So we can absolutely put Rippy in there as something that we should at least give some kind of credence to. Because like Luke said, it's not the absolute worst thing in the world. I think I was more disappointed than I was saying this is a terrible film. So that's really where the heart of this review comes to. So alrighty, guys. Other than that, let us know down below what you thought of Rippy. And if there's anything else you guys want to talk about horror-wise, feel free to comment there as well. And we will continue on with Splatterthon as we move into the later weeks. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up here. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna slash your ass.